Let's move on to our next email today. And our next email today comes to us in the form of Jack Page, who writes, "Hi, John. Been a big fan of yours since the AMC days. Do you think Jon Favreau has a chance of Best Director award for The Lion King? He should be talked about more as he's made some great movies." All right, thanks a lot, Jack. And Jon Favreau is on a bit of a roll, to say the least. To say the least. Now, look, let's be honest. He has made such films as Zathura, which was not so hot.
But it wasn't bad.
I thought it was not so good. He made Cowboys and Aliens, which was not so good. I was at the world premiere for that, sitting like 2 seats over from Favreau. I'm like, oh God. I mean, this is pretty bad. It was pretty bad. But those things notwithstanding, he's also made some really great films. Like going all the way back to Made, right? That I can sit down and watch that movie almost any time. I'm not saying it's a great American masterpiece or anything like that, but I can sit down and watch it any time. You talk to a lot of people about their favorite Christmas movies, you're going to hear a lot of people say Elf. It's not one of my favorite Christmas movies, but oh my God, that is a movie that made an impact with a lot of people and has become a classic to a whole hell of a lot of people. Of course, then very well known for doing Iron Man, the thing that really got everything going for the MCU, and then Iron Man 2, but whatever. So, but he really got the whole MCU thing going with Iron Man. Of course, he just recently did The Jungle Book, which was an absolute triumph and ultimately what kind of led him to doing Lion King. But honestly, the other thing too is not a lot of people saw this little indie film he did that Robert Downey Jr. and Scarlett Johansson actually appear in. And that's this little film he's got called Chef, which is fantastic. If you haven't seen Chef, guys, I highly recommend you go and give that film a shot. Now, would I say that Jon Favreau, looking at this filmography, should have been in Best Director consideration before? No. I really love Jon Favreau as a director, a hell of a lot, but I don't think there was any one particular year that he should have been considered for Best Director of the Year or anything like that. As far as the question, though, about is there a possibility he could win Best Director for The Lion King? The literal answer to that is this. Every single director directing every single movie coming out this year has a chance to win Best Director at the Academy Awards. That's just the underlying answer. Every single director who is directing every single movie coming out this year has a chance at being nominated for Best Director. Jon Favreau is no exception. We can't go any deeper than that because I ain't seen the damn movie. I mean, Rob, you and I saw like a 5-minute clip of it at CinemaCon.
Which brought us to tears.
Oh, like literally tears in this guy's face right here. Tears were over 2 lions climbing up a rock, just casually climbing up a rock. And it nearly broke me. It was unbelievable. It was a religious experience watching that. I couldn't believe it. But the reality is it was a 5-minute clip. You show me the right 5-minute clip of The Phantom Menace and I would have thought we were about to get the greatest Star Wars movie ever made. If you showed me like 2.5 minutes of the pod race and 2.5 minutes of the Darth Maul fight, I think, oh my God, this thing's going to be the greatest thing ever. So while I loved what we saw, we got to pump the brakes, I would think, Robert, on any discussion about is Favreau, because I'm hearing a number of people already talking about it. Some very excited people seeing this stuff at CinemaCon thinking, could this be a year that Jon Favreau takes? Well, come on. We haven't seen the movie yet.
Right.
We haven't seen the movie. So does he have a chance? Yep. Same chance as everybody else does this year. Does he have a legitimate chance? We can't possibly say that until we see the movie. Guys, we've all seen lots of movies that looked like they were going to be awesome. And then we saw them, and then they sucked. Lion King could be such a movie. I doubt it, but it could. But I don't know, Rob, there are some very unique challenges here that Favreau was facing making a movie. I mean, no movie like this has ever really been made. The way he is leveraging and pushing technology forward and all that kind of stuff. He used it in Jungle Book. He's advanced it even more to bring it to Lion King. And you also saw the clip. You've seen the previews. You know the story of the Lion King. What are you expecting from Jon Favreau going into Lion King?
Well, I think, John, look, I think it's going to be pretty damn spectacular. I mean, look, I love Jungle Book. I was totally enchanted by Jungle Book, and Lion King looks to be just as good, if not infinitely better. But here's the thing I would say about that. I don't think The Lion King can be considered an auteurist vision in the sense that it's remaking the beloved animated classic, so they had that to work from. And there are so many incredible technicians that are bringing Lion King to life. And the pre-visualization department, the animators, I think it would be hard to call. I think if there was a Best Orchestrator award, Favreau might win it, but there's so many other people that are required to create this amazing vision underneath his watchful eye, of course. But man, I mean, I can't even imagine how many technicians it requires to animate these creatures and make them. I mean, I was like enchanted. But how many people took to do that? It was astonishing. I can't wait to read the Cinefex article. Man,
but couldn't you say though, Rob? Like when you mentioned, like there's a lot of animators. Can't you say the same thing about ultimately every movie, the director is a conductor of hundreds, if not thousands of artists and tradespeople and whatever, all falling in line behind one person's singular vision, and they got to coordinate the efforts of all those people. I mean, look at James Cameron. He basically did Dances with Wolves in space. And we're talking about Avatar, and I like Avatar very much, but it was basically Dances with Wolves in space. Actually, where I got that phrase from was James Cameron himself. It was Dances with Wolves in space with a lot of CG and animation, with a lot of animation, and he got nominated for Best Director.
But you know what? But everything in Avatar was original. I mean, the story was classic. But no, I mean, original? Look, the way they designed every blade of grass on Pandora. Here's the thing. The actual inciting vision from Lion King comes elsewhere. It really is sort of a reimagining of a previously existing property. If this Lion King was 100% original, I'd say absolutely.
But The Godfather came from the novels.
But nobody saw. I mean, you actually have you have shots. We recognize certain shots in this movie. There's a lot that came from, and the whole conception of it, the characters. He didn't even recast James Earl Jones, and it's so there's a lot in this movie that's being drawn from something that previously existed. More so than
I don't know. Look, I think, like, I see where you're coming from with that, but there's a lot of movies today, and some of the more celebrated movies of all time came from something that previously existed, hence that we have an adapted screenplay thing. Like, to me, it's about wherever the director gets their tools from. How does the director execute the vision using the tools at their disposal, whatever those tools may be, to create a final product that captures the imagination of an audience in such a way? And I think if you can do that...
I mean, Beauty and the Beast was nominated for Best Picture. But the live-action Beauty and the Beast was a reimagining of the original Beauty and the Beast, and it wasn't a reimagining the way that John Carpenter's The Thing was a total reimagining of the original short story Who Goes There. It was wildly different from the original The Thing from the 50s. So I would have a hard time because this Lion King has a previous vision that it's hanging its hat on.
But you just proved my point for me, because the Beauty and the Beast thing wasn't all that great. Despite the fact that it was based on, like, just because you're based on previous material doesn't mean you have a leg up or that your product is going to be great either. That Beauty and the Beast thing was drawing on some source material that got nominated for Best Picture, the first animated film in history to be nominated for Best Picture. And they couldn't execute. I mean, it wasn't a bad film. It wasn't a horrible film. I got a little bit of enjoyment out of it. I got a bit of a kick out of it. But it was nowhere near a great film or a really good film by any stretch of the imagination. I propose that the challenges a director faces to make something that is based on pre-existing material in such a way that people will receive it well is almost greater than those who come with original material, because there's not a pre-existing bias and a pre-existing imagery and pre-existing notions that these directors are going to have to confront against. Jon Favreau faces a major hurdle, and that's that yay, everybody loves Lion King, but oh shit, everybody loves Lion King. If you don't execute it like the way, like we were all willing to let Beauty and the Beast slide. We just let it slide. Okay, you didn't execute it. Fine, move on. You screw up Lion King, there's gonna be hell to pay. There's going to be hell to pay if you screw up Lion King. It's kind of like Rian Johnson stepping in and trying to do a Star Wars movie, right? I don't know. I just feel like...
My dog hates the idea that somebody would screw up the Lion King. He hates that idea.
How dare you? How dare you? But, I mean, I just think if Favreau can pull this off, there's precedent that other people were not able to pull it off, despite having the resources and the mechanism and the machinery of Disney behind it before. If Favreau can and deliver a movie that people walk out of having the time of the year in, I think he gets the Best Director nomination. I mean, we've seen that sort of thing happen before. I think it can happen here. I don't know, but again, it all comes down, Robert, to whether the movie's any good. And frankly,
from what we saw, it looks incredible. I just think that
it does look great.
That it's just too much of based on something from a previous. It's not reconceptualized enough where you have to share credit with the original animators from the original animated film. It wasn't different enough, I don't think. But I haven't seen it. Even the still got to bring it to life. Actors. Well,
one, because that's what the audience wanted. Because the audience. Right. I mean, there was no piece of news that got a bigger, warmer reception around this movie than when they announced that James Earl Jones was coming back to do the voice of Mufasa. I mean, we all liked it, right? And then it got us all thinking,
thing ever.
Maybe Jeremy Irons will come back and be Scar. And I love that they got Chiwetel Ejiofor. And I'm actually really happy that they just stuck with James Earl Jones. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. All I know is that discussing Jon Favreau getting Best Director stuff at this point is premature, to say the least.
I agree.
Let's see how we feel when we walk out of the film.
Interesting Maybe it'll be philosophical debate we were having, though.
Indeed.
We could do a whole show about this.
We could do a whole series of shows about this, sir.